Greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to the Outhouse podcast. Today, we're talking about the movie about Mario and Luigi Mario. I am your host, Ozzina Mario, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt Mario,
Funky.
Test Mario,
That's a goal.
and Ojunix Mario. I'm sorry, it's still so fucking stupid that they made their last names Mario.
And even funnier, it's canon.
Yeah, I believe that's actual canon in Nintendo.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, because their names are they're the Mario brothers, so they would both have the same last name.
I don't think they've ever said Mario is Mario in the actual.
Not in the
Yeah.
games, but they have
Not in the games, but
mentioned
they
it in,
have admitted to it in Nintendo Power.
yeah, like Nintendo Power or when they're asked about things, kind of like how they mentioned that Bowser has a wife, just in Nintendo Power.
I think some of that stuff from Nintendo Power was just like the writers of the magazine that didn't actually know the official story, though. Because I'm sure that they weren't talking directly to the Japanese creators.
Speaking of who, they cameo in this. Not really.
But, yeah, we're talking about the Super Mario movie, the one from the 90s, not the one that hasn't existed yet.
At least that's at the time of this recording.
The overall premise of this movie is that Princess Daisy, that I'm actually not sure why they picked her instead of Peach, but
They obviously wanted Peach.
Well, I would also say to agree since they were romancing her with Luigi. Maybe they were planning on
that
having
might make sense, but at the same time, I don't think even in the games back then they really implied that Daisy was Peach's or was Luigi's princess. While
Which is
Daisy,
strange. I would not be surprised if the whole idea of Luigi and Daisy together came from this movie. And then the fandom just kind of latched onto that for whatever reason.
Daisy hasn't really had a story to herself at all outside of Super Mario World.
Super Mario Land. She debuted in Super Mario Land, where she was kidnapped by Tatanga, the mysterious spaceman, who was not really returned for any other games yet. He returned as a regular boss in Super Mario Land 2. But then, since then, Daisy's just kind of been the other princess. She's
the other princess for the party games.
Yeah. The other party games,
party game, sports games.
Mario Kart. She has their own stage in Mario Kart.
It's kind of sad because Paulina has more longevity now or renewal, where Daisy is still just kind of left in the background.
I would be surprised if they're working on something more with Daisy.
It would be nice. I feel like she kind of has deserved it at this point.
But the overall premise is that Daisy grew up in the human world without realizing she was from. Well, I don't think they only call it the Mushroom Kingdom as like a throwaway joke at one point. It's not officially the Mushroom Kingdom.
It's called Dino Hatton.
It's
Dino Hatton.
And then she finds out, one thing leads to another. She finds out that she's the princess, and they need to save the world from King Koopa, basically. We'll go over it more when we talk directly about what happened in the movie. But it has a really weird opening segment with the whole thing about the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Was I alone in anyone thinking like those old, I guess best way to put it, Oregon Trail style graphics from your Apple?
Yeah, it looked like an old
like a Super NES style.
It looked like an old computer cutscene instead of like regular animation. But it's funny, you just hear like Bob Hoskins' Italian voice talking over the dinosaur footage where they're talking about what happened with the dinosaurs, and
Which is kind of funny because that's not Bob Hoskins, that's Dan Castellaneta.
Oh, it was. Oh.
Yeah, that's Homer Simpson right there.
Either way, like it was an Italian voice, but instead of which made it kind of weird because you're just picturing him going, "Hey, there was dinosaurs just around, and then bam, meteor."
And then, and then throws in, well, what if they didn't all die? What if a whole another dimension was born from this, where dinosaurs lived out and evolved into, aggressive beings like us?
Which, like, right off the bat, you sort of assume, and this is pretty much confirmed. This was never originally. This was not intended to be a Super Mario Brothers movie. This was an original screenplay that I guess people realized that it was close enough in premise to what Super Mario dealt with like mushrooms and dinosaurs and that kind of stuff. So they thought with a little bit of finesse, we could turn this into and brand it as a Super Mario Brothers movie. And yeah, what I do like about this movie is that there is a lot of creativity involved in the world, but the plot really does not facilitate that, unfortunately.
No.
Though I will give them somewhat points that they did try to incorporate certain aspects from the games into the movie, in their own weird ways.
Yeah, there were some things they did, but overall, it didn't fit. And the thing is, like, Nintendo was so disgusted with the results of this movie that they went like 30 years before they let anyone else touch any of their IPs for a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I think there's nothing until Detective Pikachu.
Actually, before then, Wreck-It Ralph got a hold of some Nintendo
Well,
IP.
that was a cameo.
But that was a
directly
bigger tie-in
Nintendo,
thing, yeah. It wasn't a direct, like, only this IP thing.
Right. Whereas
Technically-
Detective Pikachu is a Pokemon movie.
Well,
Which,
yeah,
I mean, there have been Pokemon movies
Pokemon movies.
beforehand, so there's not,
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah,
completely
but
unprecedented.
it's a live action Pokemon.
I would still put that Pokemon technically it's not under Nintendo. That's the Pokemon company itself and Game Freak. Nintendo is just a publisher.
But after the whole scene telling us about how the dinosaurs died, and then they show the egg that Daisy ends up being born from, getting dropped off at like a church.
By her mother, the queen.
When I saw this as a kid, I had a friend with me. The minute he sees the egg, he's like, "Oh, it's Yoshi," which it wasn't. When it hatches and it's like a human child, it's like my friend went dead silent for the entire rest of the movie. Like that, he just felt instant betrayal and just like didn't have anything positive to expect the whole rest of the movie after that.
I remember also being in theaters and going, "What?"
Yeah,
And then as it kept going, my child me was just progressively more, what is even going on?
yeah, I can't entirely argue there.
Because when we talked about Masters of the Universe, I remember talking about how I didn't like it as a kid, but I find it at least okay now. This, I remember watching this movie was the first time I felt what I could describe as betrayal by a product that I expected to be something else.
It's weird to hear you say that because I've had a lot of people talk about this movie in that sense. Like they said that the Super Mario Brothers movie was the first time that they actually felt betrayal in movie form. Like they went to see something in a movie and it was different. Not that it was different, but it was so different from the source material.
Yeah, I mean, this literally has nothing to do with source material except for names.
Because they like going with the dinosaur story doesn't really make sense because in the games, like I could see you making it so the Koopas themselves are
they
dinosaurs.
do use the dinosaurs, like Super Mario World takes place in Dinosaur Land.
Right, but the princess and her people aren't dinosaurs.
And plus, actually knowing the lore, King Koopa or Bowser are turtles.
Right, but I could understand they're at least they're at least reptiles, so I could see making that stretch to make them be evolved from dinosaurs, whereas having the entire kingdom evolved from dinosaurs doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Say, how what?
And it's especially weird when you get later in the movie where they introduce the Goombas, which are de-evolved people from their society, where they're these lumbering monsters with tiny little heads. It's like, did they just give them tiny heads as a nod to the fact that the actual Goombas are fucking tiny and shouldn't be that big?
Which, ironically, the Goombas, their heads are big and their bodies are tiny. So
I was gonna say it's funny because you see one in the outfit as he gets de-evolved.
yeah,
And I find it interesting is he was normal human size, but when their heads shrink, suddenly their body
the
just
body
suddenly
gets so much bigger. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that's the devolution of Toad, and yeah, that was Toad.
yeah.
By the way, yeah, that was Toad.
AK, we had to explain why is this one Goomba nice.
Well, that's the thing. They're all. I've been a defender of this movie for a long time. I admit it's not great. There are way better things that they could do with the source material, but you also have to keep in mind what was going on at the time. This was 1993. They would make movies based on anything that the kids are into. This shit continues today. You look at shit like the Emoji Movie. It's like everybody's into emoji. Let's make something based on that.
So fire.
Yeah, and then of course so it's like, well, this is and like video games were pretty freaking recent, especially when Nintendo becoming such a huge phenomenon at the time. This was like the biggest thing in decades for kids to be into. So obviously they're gonna, okay, how do we adapt Super Mario Brothers into a movie? But you can't just take the movie because they're making everything like dark and gritty and everything. You have to make it because that's realism. That's all that stuff. So they have to take the basic premise of saving the princess and they kind of change it around. This was before Lord of the Rings. This was before any sort of fantasy thing was the big thing. So it all had to be sci-fi based, of course.
It's also worth noting that in the 90s, dinosaurs were really fucking popular.
Yes, they were.
Oh, yeah.
Dinosaurs, cavemen. There was like 5, 6 video games all about cavemen and dinosaurs. There were a shit ton of cavemen and
of course, this
dinosaur games and
also Jurassic Park ended up coming out in the 90s.
Yep.
Jurassic Park. You had the Godzilla movie.
The Godzilla movies came back. Yeah.
You had the dinosaur sitcom.
Oh. Mm-hmm. You were saying?
I was trying to say about the Jurassic Park, but you freaking cut me off.
Oh, I said that before you even tried saying it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes when there's 4 of us all trying to talk. But yeah, so Daisy grew up in the human world and became an archaeologist of all things. I think. Was it? No.
Something like that, yeah.
More or less,
even stranger yet, she tries to archaeological dig in the middle of Manhattan.
Find dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that she's digging there; it's that the Scapelli, they're like a construction, but also plumbing. They're like kind of a conglomerate on that sort of thing. But they were blasting down there, and they discovered dinosaur bones. So they're like, "Well, we got to get in there and research it." But we can't. We're trying to dig a tunnel.
Yeah, but they actually are in fact a mafia family, and which didn't really click with me until near the end, and then when I actually looked back in the previous scene, well, we'll get to that part later. But yeah, I mean, one thing is, they're constantly getting away of Mario and Luigi's work because, competitive.
Well, should we at least start off by saying, like, personally what our thoughts on this movie are? Like, just go around, because we just kind of jumped into this.
I guess before we go deeper into the overall story, you want to start because you're the guy that defends it the most.
Like, just mark my words. After the new Super Mario Brothers movie is going to come out, you're going to see all the clickbait articles, all the videos, all the stuff. It's like, was the Super Mario Brothers 1993 movie really that bad? Or 10 things the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie does better than the new one. Like, you're going to see this shit. Just watch.
Well, yeah, I'll say one thing we know that the 93 movie did better. Mario isn't voiced by Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Chris Pratt so far in every trailer has disappointed me. Everyone else sounds great except for Mario. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, unless you listen to him in a different language, then everybody gets.
Oh yeah,
because that's not Chris Pratt.
Because it's not Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it's like I just picture him going, Hi, it is me, Mario.
Yeah,
Like,
my basic
Ooh.
consensus on this movie is that it's not good, but it is way better than people claim, like saying that this is the worst video game movie ever made. No
no, no,
way.
no, no.
This
Yeah,
is
it's not. It's
so much more watchable than
I
stuff like Assassin's Creed or anything by Uwe Boll, any of that shit.
yeah.
This is so much more watchable
Like
than
Well,
any of the
uh,
bad video game movies out
I
there.
I,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll admit, I was probably among the group who just put this movie down because didn't match to the games, didn't like it for a long time since a child. We watching it. No, it's honestly not that bad. I actually was enjoying it for the most part. So I was an idiot.
It's I don't I
It's
still
not
think
perfect.
I still think it's a bad movie, but it's the thing is it's a bad movie that's a bad movie because it's a dumb movie. It's not a
Yeah,
boring movie.
Yeah.
It's not a ugly looking movie. It's just it's stupid, which can be entertaining in its own way. So, TZ and Ojunix have, I think, more or less. Matt, what's your overall opinion?
My overall opinion is I cannot see this as a Mario Brothers movie. This really is as far of a cry from a Mario Brothers movie as you could possibly get. Literally, only the names have stayed.
Right.
Well,
Visually, this is not actually not that bad of a movie. Although I also question what was this movie rated?
PG.
This is a PG-13. I'm sorry.
By today's
well,
standards, it probably
this
would
was
be.
Some
PG, but this
questionable
was like
things
1993,
going
so
on in this movie.
that's when PG actually meant something.
Yeah. Frankly, I always kind of been in the belief that PG-13
Yeah.
should have been exist.
Now
It should-
they'll give PG to anything that normally would have just been G. Like G doesn't exist anymore.
As they called it practically G.
I mean, and PG-13 is just Hollywood to throw dump movies because they want to try to get as much mass market as they can.
Well,
It's
that's
essentially a PG movie, but with like a few swear words thrown in, just so that the
few-
kids think it's something more adult.
a few swear words, maybe some women in skimpy outfits.
Yeah, which you don't see in this. There's no blood in this. The
Yeah.
most violent death is with Koopa turning into primordial
Right.
slime.
Right, yeah, and PG-13 movies will have like implied death, but they won't like show someone get
He
impaled
got
in
turned into
blood.
goo. One guy got turned into a monkey, and there are a lot of women in some very questionable outfits here and there.
I wouldn't say they're questionable.
I
They're just
was gonna
kinda-
say they were harmless.
It was borderline at times.
Not
Do you not remember
really.
the woman basically rubbing up against the police officer as they're getting questioned what their name is?
I'll be honest. I guess I did not notice that scene, but
If you watch the guy, you can literally see her heels on his shoulder.
Oh yeah. When they gave their names when they went in the
I'm
police
sorry.
department.
There's stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
also the really creepy moment with Scapelli talking to Daisy at the beginning of the movie. It's just like, is he trying to like really creepily hint that he wants to abduct her? Because that's also like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I remember the police station part you're talking about, where I just kind of noticed that, and I was like, wait a minute, was that a foot fetish reference?
There's ladies in leather outfits like that like all over the place if you're watching.
Yeah,
there's actually quite a few because you have the shot of the what was her name, Lena. You have her with the the alligator skin shoes stepping on the rock on the grating and stuff.
oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, now thinking about it, okay, there were some attires at the dance bar scene.
Especially at the dance part too. Yeah, there's some attires that's like, whoa.
Yeah, because now I'm just thinking about it, there was kind of like
Remember a children's movie.
probably close to borderline lingerie.
Right. The thing is,
It's a very brief scene.
but it's stuff that we personally wouldn't find offensive,
No,
and none of
it's
us
not
have
that kind of
kids.
stuff. It's just like, this is a kid's movie.
And none of us have kids, so like some of us might just not really think about it until someone else points it out.
It's one thing to discuss the rating, but it's also you have to think about the demographic, because who exactly is this movie for? Because watching it back to, this time, I noticed that the beginning is very slow. Like
Yeah.
there's kind of
there's
sort of this mystery going on where you have the two characters trying to abduct Daisy, and they keep getting it wrong because they're idiots. But they're not even like a fun kind of idiot.
One of them literally smacks into a pane glass as it's being dragged out of a building.
You know, the funny thing is, it's not like the goons are idiots. No, they are literally brain idiots. They literally have tiny brains.
Yeah, they're brain dead. They see another woman who has a completely different hair color than Daisy and is wearing an outfit that's nothing like she's ever worn before, and they're like, "Well, obviously she's disguised, so we think it's somebody else." It's like, she doesn't know you're chasing her. Why would she disguise herself?
Which is the kind of joke that you could see happening if a character is comedically dumb. But that's the problem with this movie, is that they have interesting ideas that could be funny with better presentation.
I think they were supposed to be comedically dumb. They just weren't good enough writers to pull it off.
Yeah, that is the kind of the frustrating thing about this movie, is that it's obvious there's something here. There's something unique. There's a lot of, especially the set design. I thought the set design in this, and like all the backstory and sort of lore hints, that they have this world that functions on completely separate rules. The fact that they use electric cars, I presume because they don't have oil, because they didn't have dinosaurs.
Yeah, because when they're escaping in one of the police cars, when it leaves the electric grid, as I think it was calling itself, the car immediately lost power.
Which means the brakes don't even work.
Yeah, actually, no, they don't have brakes. The only way they stop is literally you have to hit something, or as they showed it when they get to the police station, it literally grabs onto a band, kind of like how jets land on a air carrier.
Yeah, that's why you constantly see. That's why you constantly see the cars crashing into each other on their streets.
That's also why they have like plow fronts to them.
It's a civilization of dinosaurs, so they are dumb. So they do these things that work in theory, but are kind of impractical in practice. Which, again, that could be really funny in a better movie.
Right.
Right.
We started talking about when the later sets, so we might as well get to it, because there's not a whole lot near the beginning worth talking about, because Daisy meets Mario and Luigi. Luigi wants to bang her, and there's a bunch of shit with him trying to date her, and then eventually they end up helping her because the Scapelli goons sabotage her dig site, and they go to stop the place from overflooding with water, which leads to her getting grabbed by the two idiots and then going into the alternate dimension that is the main focus for the majority of the movie.
Just to throw in, Mario has a girlfriend who's not Paulina, and she's one of the girls that gets kidnapped before Daisy does.
Yeah, she's the one that they go, oh, she's disguised herself to look like somebody else.
Yeah. I just thought I'd at least mention that, because technically she is sort of in the plot to a degree.
Yeah, she is.
They introduce all these characters that they really don't do anything with. And then the characters that are actually important, they never introduce. Like Lena, she is like basically Bowser's right-hand woman that is not getting her due, so she tries to end up conquering the world on her own.
Which
backfires on her, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
so, and talking about the overall plot, there was another problem where they decided that Luigi is actually Mario's adopted brother, but Mario basically raised him, so Mario's basically his foster father, while also pretending to be his brother.
Everybody's always debating that he's his older brother. He's just he's like maybe 10 years older than him, so he's able to take care of him. This happens. This sort of thing happens.
Yeah.
The older brother has to take care of the younger brother when the parents are out of the picture. That
shit
happens.
The problem is, I'm pretty sure that Bob Hoskins is way older than 10 years older than
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo was in the movie.
But you're not gonna really realize that as a kid watching this movie, at least back then. nowadays. Yeah, sure.
Well, the thing is because of the fact that they went with a guy who's balding to play Mario is a very noticeable thing whenever his hat's not on.
Which, you know what? I'll be honest. I'll throw in this tangent. I actually was okay with Bob Hoskins Mario. He's not perfect, but
He's
yeah,
not, and he's not
Apparently
100%
he
perfect, but
hated
he's
it.
honestly a solid Mario if they would have given him a decent plot to work with.
Yeah,
I mean,
he hated the role. Apparently, he
Yes.
hated this.
Yes,
working on this
He
movie.
hated being on set.
He said that this movie is the thing he most regrets in his life.
wow.
Which
I
is
saw
the
a
opposite
thing
of
recently.
the
I saw
opposite
an
of
interview with him from 2011 where he basically went, "Do you want to know how bad it is making that movie?" We had a couple who were the directors of that movie. They were idiots. They messed up everything. Everything turned out terrible when they were on set. It literally became the point that their own guy who was supposed to be setting them up for stuff, I forget who it was, but someone who was like supposed to be helping them get jobs, literally told them that they just need to remove themselves from set.
but Bob Hoskins, he hated it. John Leguizamo is like the other way around. He considers this movie like his golden ticket claim to fame because he was upset that he didn't get recast as Luigi for the new movie.
Wow.
Because he was
doing. I honestly believe their chemistry together as brothers. They are constantly like shooting this shit, but they could take it just as best as they dish it out. I really believe their chemistry as Mario and Luigi as brothers in this.
It works.
You believe that they've been kind of living together and working together for so long.
But yeah, and so they end up in the alternate dimension eventually, and this is where things get interesting because as a kid, like, I honestly, like, I know it was supposed to be an alternate dimension, but as a kid, I think I missed that part, and because of the fact that for most of it, you never see the sky at all, my brain as a kid was telling me all this was taking place underground.
I think, you know what? I think I saw the same thing.
Yeah, that's not an unreasonable thing because they go underground and they discover this place. So yeah, you can sort of assume that.
Because the only time you see the sky while they're in that dimension is while they're wandering in the desert. Every other time they never make the camera view up to see anything above the set they're currently in. Which is just weird. So it feels like this is just an enclosed underground city. Like some place a bunch of dwarves would be living or something. So yeah, they go in there and they're trying to find Daisy, and this is also the point where a bunch of references just get thrown in because all the businesses are named after characters from the games. Because
you got the Swamp Industries, you got the Boom Boom Bar.
And there's bullet bills, which I don't know what that was.
Bullet bills are the energy cartridges that go in the stompers.
Yeah, which I actually didn't notice until a second look at.
Of course, then later they actually show a bullet bill get loaded into a weapon, which was kind of weird. But a whole lot of craziness happens with them trying to chase after Daisy because the goons have gotten like so far ahead of them at this point because they took forever to actually jump into this portal because Mario's like, no, you're crazy, it's just a wall. Never mind that we just saw someone get sucked into it.
Which I'll admit, I kind of kept giggling over that one scene of Mario is like, like,
and then he falls into it and his stunt double has a different color shirt than he did.
I didn't even notice that.
It was so weird because like he was wearing a similar outfit, but Bob Hoskins was wearing a shirt that was darker than his pants, and his stunt double was wearing a shirt and pants that had matching colors. Because I just saw him, flip upside down, and then suddenly I could tell like it's a different color outfit. I was like, wait, what? And then you see him falling, and it's different color outfit. Then he comes out the other side, and his outfit's back to normal. I'm like, how? Why didn't they just have the stunt double wear the same clothing? How did they fuck that up? How did they fuck that up?
I'm surprised that's one of the there were a lot of problems like you mentioned. There were so many problems with the production of
Yeah,
this movie.
but it's just one of those things where I saw it, I was like, wait, what? I rewound it to rewatch it, and I was like, yeah, his fucking shirt just changed color when it switched to the stunt double.
But of course, him with Mario being very skeptical of everything, that leads into his character arc for the movie, if you could even call it that. The fact that he is very world weary and skeptical, and he doesn't like to believe in this sort of stuff, which culminates eventually at the end with him trusting the fungus and I believe and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like Luigi is the believer, Mario's not, which is kind of an interesting aspect.
Yeah, it's kind of opposite of what. Well, it's not really opposite of the way they are in the games because Mario still isn't a coward in this. He's more of a pessimist
Where Luigi is a coward.
in the games. Yeah, so it's not like a complete reverse of the roles.
Well,
from
he
the
does kind
games.
of have to deal with ghosts constantly, so that would bear down on somebody.
True. Although apparently they also supposedly Luigi is actually kind of competitive too.
Yeah, like we all know the death stare from the fucking Mario Kart game. Luigi's gonna kill you in your sleep. But so they're trying to save her, and they end up running into that crazy old lady that's like, "You guys got weapons?"
Oh,
No, that means you're unarmed. Good, I can rob you.
It's like, what the fuck?
This is where we also meet
Bertha,
Bertha.
Big Bertha.
Big Bertha.
Which yeah, the games was a big ass fish.
Yeah, it was a big ass crazy fish. Where here it was a big black woman.
Big black woman with spiked tits.
Spiked shoulders.
Spiked shoulders, but also spikes on the front of her dress too.
But you know what? The thing is it was such a weird thing, but she honestly looked badass.
No, she did. She looked good in this. She looked obviously. It's proof that they can find help if they need it. They can get friends. They can get allies in the other world. Even turning into eventually Spike and Iggy turning to their side.
So she isn't an ally at first. At first, she steals Daisy's necklace from them.
Yeah, and then shows
she
off.
has no clue what it's for.
No, she probably just likes because it's shiny, and then she shows off the rocket shoes or stompers.
And then all this ends up, all this chasing around ends up leading to Mario and Luigi getting arrested by the Koopa cops or whatever you want to call them.
The Koopa troops. Their helmets even have like the turtle shell designs on them.
Yeah, that was actually kind of nice little nod.
And I'll admit, these are actually some of these sections are points where I think my mind just kind of like glossed over while I was watching it, because there's just all this random, just boring crap where they're okay. You got to get checked in to the jail or the prison or whatever it's supposed to be. They didn't really exactly say, and there was the point where Matt was pointing out there's the guy questioning them actually has like a woman pressing her heel up against the side of his head. It was just like, it's a thing I didn't notice at first until they started, dragging Mario and Luigi away to the next area. But when I noticed it, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. And one thing also noticing is the constant mention of defungusing.
Yes, where they get sprayed down with some sort of gas.
It looks like barbicide.
Like it basically looked like they shot a freaking fire extinguisher down their pants.
Oh yeah.
I bring it up because I kind of noticed King Koopa in this apparently has a bit of a germ phobia.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Like, I don't know what to get a read on Koopa's character in this, because like he does get put through the devolution chamber, and then they don't really do anything with it. I think it's implied that he's like de-evolving slowly over the course of the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, like, now here's the funny thing: is as someone that rewatched the Austin Powers movies recently, watching this, and I know this came first, but it's like watching oh crap, what was the actor's name? Dennis Hopper as King Koopa. I was getting a somewhat similar vibe to what I got from Doctor Evil in the Austin Powers movies.
I could
Kinda,
sort of see.
sorta.
I could sort of see that.
Like just his not necessarily the germophobia thing, but his mannerisms when he
Like his
gets excited about certain things.
yeah, or like how he kept holding his hands to his up to his chest to a degree.
Yeah, he just
Well, he
Actually,
holds his
did-
hands up to his chest because he's supposed to be like a T-Rex.
Yes.
Well, yes, good point. I actually didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was always a really subtle touch. I liked that
Yeah,
bit.
wow, I did not even click with me on that aspect, and yet he outright states, "Tyrannosaurus Rex, I evolved beautifully."
and he yeah, so they get carted off into this jail, and then they say they want to speak to a lawyer or whatever, and they have a weird scene that like this scene didn't need to exist, but Koopa comes in and pretends to be someone else and pretends
Right.
that he's a lawyer here to help them.
He's a lawyer from Lazard, Conda, Dactyl, and Cohen.
just to prove that he's evil and will do anything to get what he wants, which was weird because he immediately threw it away the second they offended him.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like, is he a mastermind or is he just a stupid bully? That's why I had such a hard time getting a read on his character because he's trying to be evil. He's the king by his own hand apparently, but he's not very strategic and he's not very smart. So I thought that's kind of what they were doing with the devolution, where he starts making bad decisions because he's getting stupider.
Right. And
That doesn't happen until after this scene. So
and I forgot going into this that Toad got arrested at the same time as them because he sang a song about how bad King Koopa is.
Yeah, propaganda.
Which that's exactly the thing that a tyrant would actually do, but it was so it was so randomly thrown in there just to be like, this is Toad. This is Toad, by the way. Toad's here.
and then of course there's also introduces the
Devolution, where he gets devolved into a Goomba.
which I find also interesting that they attached a harmonica to him.
Yeah, like if you're not supposed to do music, why? Why would they do that?
Well, it's not that you're not supposed to do music. You're not supposed to do anti-Koopa music.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was. And things just kind of bounce all over the place after this because you end up seeing at some point. I can't even remember the order of events because I know you find out where Daisy is and she's with all these other women that have been captured because these idiots literally captured like 7 other women by accident while trying to capture her.
Yeah, Iggy and Spike. Which, when the Mario Brothers escape the jail and are lost in the desert, Koopa gets tired of his cousins. I think they were supposed to be.
Yeah, they're the cousins.
And then so he throws them in the de-evolution and evolutions their brains way up. So now they're smart and
now they're smart and they remember that they were saboteurs.
Yeah, they're smart and they're like, oh yeah, you're an evil tyrant. We don't have to listen to you because we're smart now. And it's like, there's a really obvious political message here: is that if you're stupid, you support a tyrant, but if you're smart, you become a member of the resistance. Right. So it's like,
and all
okay.
and all Koopa does is go capture the brothers or I kill you. And they're like, okay. And it
leads to like the weirdest sequence of things happening, where they find them, get captured by the Mario Brothers instead of the other way around. And they offer to make a trade. Well, we'll give you Daisy back if you give us the necklace. And then they go back to the city, and they have to sneak back into the city, even though Koopa's henchmen should have permission to go back into the city.
Yeah.
They didn't really explain that at all.
Like, I guess they wouldn't be able to get back in without the brothers.
They had the brothers with them, though.
I think maybe.
Yeah, so just make it like in Star Wars, where you sneak in. We're trying to get these prisoners back into the city.
Maybe they look. This is probably just those points of we didn't know where to go with this. So
yeah, I can only assume that like, because they didn't really accurately explain this, but I'm guessing the only reason they had to do it this way is because they didn't want the Mario Brothers to actually get arrested and taken to wherever they want to take them again now. Right. So they also just went along and snuck in.
Cages?
To what?
The room full of cages?
Yeah, the room full of cages.
As they're making their escape, there's like a room full of cages that I assume are prisoners or whatever.
And when he says room full of cages, it's not like there are cages that are scattered around the room. These cages are stacked on top of each other with people in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you have so many prisoners, you got to keep them somewhere.
That was
basically a dungeon.
That was weird.
A little. And then this is where we go to the bar dance club thing.
The boom boom bar, yeah.
Yeah, which Bertha. We reacquaint with Bertha as Mario basically decides to show his moves and woo her to get the crystal from her, which works exceptionally well.
Yeah, it works. It works so well that even after she realizes that he stole the necklace, she still decides she likes him and helps them out when the Goombas show up to try and capture them.
And then gives them a big smooch.
And then they got the boots that allow them to jump really high, which is...
And they really don't use them that much.
Yeah, they really don't use them that much. They're like, but this is a Mario movie. We have to allow Mario to jump high.
Yeah, there's so many things in this movie that are introduced and then they do so little with it. Because it's like it's really they're just trying to integrate so many things from this game into this just as a formality. It's like we have a bomb, we have Yoshi, we have the Stompers, we have characters that are named after certain aspects of it, but they're really, the only thing that really works with is Spike and Iggy because they are henchmen of Koopa. Whereas Spike is one of those little things, and Iggy was one of the Koopalings. But
when they were made smart, they remembered, oh wait, we were loyal to the previous king.
And as TZ mentioned, we also see Yoshi during these weird where he keeps going back between the Mario Brothers or Daisy. Daisy meets Yoshi, who's basically just a little tiny dinosaur.
Yeah,
basically a little baby raptor. Yeah.
And the Mario Brothers, when they're escaping from the bar, the fungus gives Luigi a bomb.
That gets held onto for a long time before they actually do anything with it.
Yeah. At least they actually did do something with it. If they did nothing with it, that's when I would have called bull on.
But yeah, and we eventually, I'm going to kind of gloss over some things because a lot of what happened from this point on is kind of a haze for me, even though I just watched...
it is for most occasions this movie.
I just watched the movie 2 hours ago, and I have trouble remembering what order certain events happened in.
I think I know the majority. I can help with that.
But the main thing I was going to say is eventually, at some point, we find out that Daisy's father has been de-evolved into fungus, which... I don't really understand how fungus would evolve into an intelligent human life form. I can buy it with dinosaurs, but fungus is a little weird thing to decide evolved into a person.
Which makes you kind of wonder what was
fungus is like one step right above the primordial sludge, so
I mean,
yeah, but when he even when we see him turn back to normal later, it's like he doesn't evolve into an animal and then into a human. He evolves directly from a blob of fungus into a person.
True.
Well, maybe they're implying that some of the plant life evolved through this dimension along with the dinosaurs.
But I mean, the main reason he seems to be fungus is so that Koopa can say to him at one point in the movie, "You could stay here in your mushroom kingdom. I'm moving on."
Yeah, that's really is a thing, but it does kind of introduce the idea that even if they're de-evolved or in a form that's not human, they still have consciousness. They're still able to understand things. Just like Toad is still loyal to the princess and loyal to the resistance, even when he's been turned into a Goomba. So you have the mushroom, the king, the mushroom king, basically, that is trying to help the plumbers, trying to help Mario and Luigi by giving them the things, and because he actually understands, he's actually there, he's actually able to help them in his own small way. So it's an interesting idea that they've been turned into this thing, and they have so limited functions, but they're still able to do what they want to.
You could argue that Koopa turning him into fungus made him more powerful than he was before because he spread out across the entire kingdom.
Which, again, he didn't expect to happen.
True.
But
so you got Koopa not being the
Ojunix, do you have anything specific you want to talk about before we talk about the final battle? Because a lot of it, like I said, a lot of it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, well, I, for the most part, remember how it more or less plays out, if you want me to help you with that. But in terms of thoughts, yeah, it's kind of it kept going back and forth so constantly, and it just seems one step at a time. First we're in the city, then we're underground, or we think we're underground, and then we're in the desert, and then or actually before that, then we're in the police station, and then we're in the towers, and then we're in the city again, then we're at a bar club. We got fungus. It's like, what's going on?
That's the thing is they jump from one thing to the next without giving you time to actually absorb what happened. It's
like
it's kind of like Rise of the Skywalker, but not boring. Because that was
You're saying this movie is better than Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, I am saying that.
I would agree with that.
I will say the funniest scene that I remember from this was the scene where there's this drop and Luigi tries to jump across and suddenly he's in midair. He's like, "Oh, Mario, I'm flying. I'm flying. Just jump. Jump." And Mario's like, "Okay, Luigi." And then he realizes that he's not flying. A freaking hook grabbed his belt and is holding him in the air. And he goes, "Oh, wait, it's just a hook. Don't jump, Mario." And he jumps.
But that's when the fungus comes and saves the day again. So, like you said,
the
fungus is kind of more powerful than he was as he was human.
The fungus more or less trampolines him back up into the air so Luigi can catch him.
Oh yeah, this is also the point where after they've escaped from the bar and or like underground of the tower, the Koopa Towers, this is when Mario and Luigi get the closest thing we get to them actually looking like Mario and Luigi. They're outfits.
And they get the jumpsuits.
They get the jumpsuits right before they convince a bunch of Goombas to dance.
It's the Mario Brothers, so they're jumpsuits.
Yeah, that's probably, this is the scene I say could live without, is like, because this is one hell of a long elevator ride.
That is a weird one.
More and more Goombas keep shoveling.
But also at the same time, it is preparing a sort of miniature Chekhov's gun for the final fight.
Even so, I'm sorry. It's just like, I mean, you can also make the joke. Yes, they're in a tower, so yes, it would be a long elevator ride up. But that's
you don't need that scene.
It was long. It was longer than it needed to be.
They didn't need to have more and more Goombas keep shuffling into the elevator. The fact that there was even just 3 of them in there should have been enough trouble for them, where they could have done the thing where they got them dancing and then escaped. But instead, they ended up with like 8 Goombas in there with them.
Which is probably the entire budget for the costumes.
They got one more in, so at least 9. And then you got Toad, so that's probably 10 at most.
Because they're all dancing, and then another Goomba shows up, and the door opens, and he just yells something at them, and they stop dancing and shuffle out of the elevator.
This is when Daisy is escaping with Yoshi, who, by the way, apparently does have his tongue gimmick. We only get to see it the one time. And gets found by Iggy and Spike, who try to help her because they're like, "Oh, we're allies. We're here to help you." And the Toad Goomba is, for some reason, set on fire out of the blue, and she goes back to put it out to help him because he's a nice Goomba.
Yeah, the way the story is actually told in the tower is really clunky.
It very is. It's at least once they were out of the tower, then it seems to be a lot more straightforward. They're just suddenly now back at the main street on the bridge, I think it was, or the balcony, where the final,
something like that, yeah.
where the basically is the final fight starts.
Yeah,
with the Mario Brothers.
Bowser confronts them. He doesn't realize they don't have the stone.
Well, not yet. He just Oh,
Yeah, because
right.
then of course you have the whole section where they get the stone back and they try to bring it to Koopa, but he's not listening because he's busy trying to take over the country or take over everything, but he doesn't have the stone. So then she tries to give him the stone, and he blows her off. So he's like, "Don't talk to me right now." He's like, "Fine, I'll try to merge the city. I'll try to merge the dimensions myself." And he's like,
Yeah, that.
Where the hell did we lose the plot?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
again,
but
again, Lena seemed like again. Lena was also very improprious.
Yes, she's an important character that they never introduce.
Right.
She's just there, and she's
Yeah.
a major character involved in the plot. And I don't really think they even say, like, specifically say her name. I mean, they say it at one point, but it's really just kind of in just kind of a throwaway.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah, but what ends up happening, because I don't really want to drag along too much, is eventually she goes off with the stone after things not going the way she wanted. King Koopa finds the Mario Brothers, thinks they still have the stone. Mario actually takes his shoelace off and pretends it's the necklace,
Right.
so that he provokes King Koopa into fighting him when he doesn't actually have what he wants.
And then he pulls out the MacGuffin,
Yeah,
the bomb, which
Yeah.
I like.
wanders off.
And I like how Koopa says it. Ba-bomb.
Yeah, everybody says "ba-bomb" and starts running. He puts
Because
it down.
they know these things are powerful.
He puts it down. It falls through a hole in the ground, and it slowly keeps wandering along. But then we end up cutting back to Lena. She has the stone and puts it in the meteorite, even though Daisy and Luigi and all of them try to stop her, but she doesn't listen. She puts it in, and finds out why only a princess is supposed to do this, because she basically gets zapped, sent flying into the wall, and becomes just a skeleton.
Yeah, it
And
basically.
of course, they never established why only a princess can do it.
No, yeah, they don't. They don't.
Oh yeah, and Luigi's best comeback or remark.
It's like she really leaves an impression. Which that's not even a good one.
It's not. It's so stupid.
That's not even a bad pun in the good. That's not even a good bad pun. It's just a bad line.
Yeah, but because the stone is now in, Mario and Bowser, Koopa, because he's not Bowser yet, get teleported to the real world, or our world.
Our world. Which is, of course, causes Bowser to be like, "You don't have the stone! The dimensions are merging!"
Which, of course, this happened, like, there's a weird time scale going on where all the lost girls get sent back to there, and he tells them, go tell the press, tell them Koopa's coming. And then, next time you cut out there, the press is already there, and everybody's, like, looking around.
Yeah.
It's like, how long have they been fighting? When did this happen?
Yeah.
Is there, like, a time disconnect between the two dimensions?
Maybe.
And then Koopa devolves Scapelli for no reason, because he just happens to be there.
Be there.
Oh no, he's trying to shoot at Mario, and he jumps out of the way.
Oh yeah, and of course we get the ever so famous monkey.
Monkey.
And
Because he's never seen a monkey before. Because he's used to creatures that evolved from dinosaurs. He doesn't even know what humans came from. He thought it was like rats or something.
Right, though Jelly apparently is very amused by it.
Yeah, and then
Who wouldn't want to see a monkey?
Then one of Scapelli's goons picks him up and is like, "Boss!"
And the funny thing is, he never gets changed back either.
Nope.
So
Oh no.
Nope, Scapelli stays a monkey.
I guess maybe that's to help explain why Mario and Luigi are doing a lot better financially when they at the
3 weeks later, yeah.
yeah.
And then Daisy and Luigi, using plumbing equipment, pull the shard of the stone back out of the meteor.
Oh, yep.
Which was so weird. I was like, I don't think those tools would actually be able to do that. Maybe if you had mining equipment, it would make more sense.
Sadly, this is not Minecraft, the movie.
But then that causes Mario and King Koopa to teleport back to the other dimension just in time for the bomb to get underneath Koopa and explode.
Which sends Koopa falling into that same giant bucket that's
Yeah, it's just like a crane bucket or something, which I
Right.
have always said is supposed to be a reference to his clown car from the end of Super Mario
Yeah,
World.
that makes
Yeah.
that makes a
Yeah.
sense, especially because he turns into a dinosaur while in it.
And his head comes out in the exact same way that it does in the game, and then he shoots
Yeah.
fire. Then he shoots
Yeah.
fireballs.
Yeah, so at least to a degree, they were trying to reference it. And of course, that's when Mario and Luigi used the devolver ray guns on him and turn him into primordial ooze.
The Devo guns are super scopes.
Yeah.
And I love that apparently him getting turned into ooze just instantly makes the previous king turn back to normal.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing, is like, because then he gets turned back to normal, but I guess that implies that Scapelli would get turned back to normal too, which neither of those make any sense.
Right.
It makes even less sense if one of them would change back and the other one didn't.
Because King Koopa getting turned into goo shouldn't have anything to do with the application of the technology.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody should have had to go and use the gun in reverse on him to turn him back to normal, but they probably are like, we need to finish this now.
We don't have a budget for that. Yeah,
we're out of time. We're out of time.
Yeah,
the movie needs to end.
I was gonna say you only see the king for like what, half a minute.
You barely have
Lance
time to even
Henriksen.
absorb who the actor might be that's playing him.
Apparently, it was Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, yeah.
So he turns back to normal, but none of the fucking Goombas turn back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. There's not even any good internal consistency here.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Mario and Luigi have to go back. Luigi has to say goodbye to Daisy because she has to stay to help her father take care of their kingdom.
Yeah,
So-
which makes sense.
So after they kiss, Mario and Luigi leave. Daisy and Yoshi watch them leave. Then we get the 3 weeks later. We see Mario with not Paulina making spaghetti and Luigi being glum.
Because he's Italian, it has to be spaghetti.
Gotta have lots and lots of spaghetti.
I hope they made lots of spaghetti.
And Luigi's being glump on the couch again, watching the news when they bring up the Mario brothers saved the city. It's like, okay, I guess
Yeah,
it's a slow
yeah,
day. I guess
that
it's a
was
slow
so
day.
weird. That was so weird because he's like, he saved the city, and they saved another dimension from a tyrant. It's like, I understand that they saw King Koopa teleport in, but how did they just take their word for what happened? That would never fucking happen in our
It's a
reality.
tabloid, you never know.
Though the fact that it was 3 weeks later when they finally bring this news up, what the hell?
Well, you need time to interview them and put the thing together.
But then of course there's a knock on their door, and it's Daisy, and she's like, "I need your help. You're not gonna believe it." And Mario goes,
Mario's like,
"I'll believe
I
it."
believe it. Bailey grabs his tool belt, and then they end the
Yeah,
movie there.
yeah. The movie literally just ends on a sequel bait cliffhanger
Sequel bait cliffhanger,
that will
which
never be
For
resolved.
years, my brother and I talked about. I was like, we could still get a new one. We could still get a second one. How many years was it between Alien and Aliens?
But you didn't know that Nintendo would absolutely veto any concept of there being a sequel.
Oh yeah, there was one little thing I forgot to mention earlier. When Mario and Bowser get teleported to our world, the Koopa Towers also get teleported.
Oh yes,
and they're
that
basically
was uncomfortable.
Yeah, because they're basically the World Trade Center. So you see the normal World.
They're the
Trade
World Trade Center, but half destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in retrospect, what happened years later makes that really fucked up.
Yeah, that's like ooh.
But I mean, they never edited them out. They never edited the change or anything. So
No, they did. But
Well, yeah, that's also because the people that own the rights to the movie don't give enough of a shit to even think to do that.
No, that's kind of uncomfortably. But I thought I mentioned it.
You know, it's like I saw that happen, but I didn't even think about that.
It's almost like they saw into the future and didn't realize what it meant.
I don't know if that's so much, but yeah,
They're not the Simpsons.
I appreciate a lot of the creativity that goes into this movie, especially the world building of the Dino Hatton
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's like the fact that they use guns to operate their monitor, their computers, which is strange, but it's an idea.
I mean, to some degree, they still also used their fingers, but yeah, that was an interesting way to do it.
It's certainly an idea. I don't know if it's a good one because I guess it kind of feeds into the whole idea that they are very violent. They are weapon centric, so they're not any more civilized than humans are. In fact, they're probably way worse.
Of
Probably.
course, when they defeated King Koopa, we also learned how many citizens were loyal to King Koopa. Population
None.
0. Because literally everybody started cheering the minute he turned into ooze.
Yeah,
Right.
they didn't even question how. It's just
It's like how was there not an uprising at all?
Mm.
well, how come there's
I-
not an uprising now with so much shit going on in the world?
Right.
Yeah, I can't really bring an argument
Well,
for that. 'Cause
you know,
that kinda goes into real-
most tyrants in the real world have actually have loyal soldiers. It just seemed like Koopa literally had nobody that was loyal to him in that.
Well, anyone who was loyal ended up getting evolved if they ever showed disloyalty. So
Yep.
Oh, but I think that's about it. This is weird. Is we've went about as long as normal, but I don't think we had as much to say about this as some of the other ones, or maybe we did, and I'm just
Would you like to hear some trivia?
sure.
oh, absolutely.
I've been hunting on IMDb while we've been talking. So, Dennis Hopper explains why he did the film. Actually, was this? Yeah, I made a picture called Super Mario Brothers, and my 6-year-old son at the time, he's now 18. He said, "Dad, I think you're probably a pretty good actor, but why did you do that terrible guy King Koopa on Super Mario Brothers?" He said to his son, "Well, Henry, I did that so you could have shoes." His son replied, "Dad, I don't need shoes that badly."
Oh, I remember hearing that story, but I forgot about it.
During the chase scene, Bob Hopkins broke his finger when he was in the van store slammed on his hand.
Ouch.
The
The
rest of
rest
the film, Hoskins was wearing a cast that was painted pink.
Mm-hmm. 2007 biography Leguizamo states that he and Bob Hoskins both hated working on the film and would frequently get drunk to make it through the experience. Both men apparently knew the movie was going to turn out bad, so they simply tried to make the best of it. He also stated that he felt one of his biggest reasons the movie turned out the way that it did was because the directors wanted a more adult, air quotes on the adult, the movie, while the studio was considering the source material more and was looking for a children's film.
Yeah, that kind of leads into the what exactly is the demographic for this movie, because it is a very there's a lot of stuff I hesitate to say that I hate this movie because I respect like the story, like the set design and all that stuff. It's a great movie to look at. It's just it's visually very interesting. It's just I wish there was a better story associated with it, at least in the way that the story is told.
To further add to this particular story, Dennis Hopper described the film's production. It was a nightmare. Very honestly, that movie. It was a husband and wife directing team who were both control freaks and wouldn't talk before they made decisions. Anyway, I was supposed to go down there for 5 weeks, and I was ended up for 17. It was so over budget.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. We're advised don't have a husband-wife.
Further emphasizes it was a freaking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had husband and wife directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent, and after so many weeks, their own agent told them to get F off that nightmare. Effing idiots.
Although Bob Hoskins said that this was the worst film he ever made, his son Jack Hoskins is a fan of the film, praising his dad's performance. He said that he was too young to understand the poor reviews, and now that he's old enough, he doesn't care. He quoted on the film's website, snbarchive.com, "If there's anyone reading this, please understand that it is no one's intention to ruin classics. One last thing, if you remember your past enjoyments, then it would definitely keep your childhood memories alive and safely locked in your head forever."
Well,
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Let-
you know the thing is though is I think overall Bob Hoskins had probably a better film career than John Leguizamo did though, because like we were talking before we started recording. I was like, it's most of his roles are either things that no one remembers, or he played like a mafia goon. Like that was the majority of his roles. Stuff you don't remember, and him being a thug. Those just-
well,
Ooh.
or in John Wick's case,
Oh,
he's a
this one
mechanic.
hurts. This could have gone somewhere. After the film bombed to the box office, Nintendo stopped producing any live-action theatrical films based on their video game franchises for a long while. A Metroid film was put into development but never got past pre-production. Nintendo would eventually release another adaptation, Detective Pikachu, to improve critical and commercial success.
Nearly a half hour of footage was cut to get. I want to see. I so would wish to see these scenes. I want to see the director's cut of this movie.
Oh, they actually list the extended scenes. Extended sequence of Koopa chasing Daisy's mother in New York, which featured him gazing admirably at the buildings, which would later inspire his warped construction projects in
Yeah, so he
Dino
did
Hatton.
travel into the. So he did travel into the our world, and he got inspired by all these sort of things. So he would build these things in his own house, in his own place.
That would make a lot of sense, honestly.
well, yeah, you actually do see him chase her briefly in the beginning of the
Very briefly at
movie,
the very beginning, you see
but
like a glimpse of him in that sewer.
yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, you see him. She freaks out, hits something, causes like a beam to collapse, and then
Which
I
it was
think she
was it?
catches him, or he catches
But,
her.
that's the thing. They never really said because I always kept thinking, did she die in the cave-in or did he actually capture her? Which in that case, what did he do to her?
Mm-hmm.
Not explained. Probably
Yeah,
part of the cut
yeah,
footage.
probably,
Oh.
or at least cut or cunt.
Like you know, seeing somebody tells Mario your princess is in another castle. Oh, that would have been awesome.
Oh, jeez. That actually would have been funny if that was a joke they used to explain. What happened to my mother? She's in another castle. What?
That would have been funny
Oh,
if Bowser had said that to Daisy.
actually, yeah. I, now,
In addition to breaking his finger, Bob Hoskins recalled that he was stabbed 4 times, electrocuted, and nearly drowned. And that's just what happened to me.
Oh God,
him.
man.
Michael Keaton was approached to play Koopa, but passed on the role.
That
Tom
would
Hanks
have
was considered for a role of Luigi, but the failures of Turner and Hooch and Joe versus Volcano led the studio to believe that Hanks was no longer a box office draw.
So they went with Leguizamo.
Who's never really been a box office draw.
Arnold Schwarzenegger turned down the role of King Koopa. That would have been amazing.
Honestly, I would have made it a very interesting twist in that role.
Damn, I actually kind of want this. I kind of wish I saw that instead. Nothing gets Dennis
Dennis
Hopper.
Hopper. You know, it'd be funny just picturing like a King Koopa that acts like the Terminator.
Kevin Costner turned down the role to play King Koopa.
Man, a lot of people turned down the role.
Cheech Marin was offered the lead role of Mario, but turned the part. That would have like Cheech Marin and John Leguizamo. Although that would not be Italian.
Kevin Costner turned down playing Koopa.
Yeah.
No comment on that one.
I think we're at the point though where we
Yeah.
kind of need to end it though, because otherwise we'll just be
Yeah.
going through trivia all night.
Just Lordy B.
So, until next time, everybody, don't watch shitty movies. We'll do it for you.
Yeah.
That's a good tagline.